To the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Mr. Minister Gregory Taylor, and he's talking about the state of spirituals and hymns in the African American church. And of course, Brother Taylor, we had an opportunity to deal with that first segment and to talk about what you consider to be the state of spirituals and hymns in the African American church. And I think that during that last part, you mentioned something about the distinction between the mass choir and the sanctuary choir. Let's explore that for a while.
Okay. Well, when I say sanctuary choir, I'm referring to what they would refer to today as the senior choir. And in my background coming up as a lad, we had to sing with the elderly people. And there was one Sunday that we had to sing to ourselves. And what I've discovered is that in the process of us singing with the elderly, this is where the learning to sing was being passed on from one generation to the next. Even though at that time I didn't fully understand. The whole
process of learning how to sing.
That's right. I didn't fully understand it at the time, but as I got older, I realized what was taking place. And we used to have choir practice every Monday night. And these were the kind of things that contributed to shaping us. And I can remember when I say mass choir, during the 60s period, the people came from all the churches around the community, and they formed the mass choir. And this is when the sound, the rocking and the clapping and the marching began. And every time I see that today, I get the feeling that look like they're trying to jump start the civil rights movement, you know, by the rocking, massing, and the marching and rocking this year. It just appears that this is what is taking place in the worship, or the worship has become complementary to what took place in the civil rights movement. And I'm not knocking the civil rights movement.
It might have been right for the time.
That's right.
Is that what you're saying for the civil rights movement, but it's not appropriate?
Yes, for what they were doing. It was appropriate. And there is a term that is called reclamation. You know, when you dig for coal, it is required that you put something back in the ground that is equivalent to what was taken out. But reclamation has never taken place when it comes to the sanctuary choir. And I even sometimes think, Dr. Haney, that there should be an atonement, an apology, because of the length of time that they have gone about. The music has constantly changed. And I sometimes think that those who use, after the songs were rewritten and sung in the streets, when they returned to the church, they were no longer the same singers that they left as. And I think right there is where they may have forgotten what it's like to sing in the sanctuary choir. I have forgotten that tune, you know, in that area.
And so, so you would suggest that perhaps one of the reasons that we are losing perhaps something in these in the singing of these hymns and spirituals now, we've lost something that we could possibly recapture, but we have to make some changes in order to recapture that. Now, what are some of those changes you have?
First, I believe that there should be a gathering of elderly people, and there should be discussion. They should be given the opportunity to talk